Hello, welcome to the first shoot the defense of 2021. God, it feels like 2020 was yesterday. Oh well, I'm your host, Stel. I've got two co-hosts with me at this moment in time. The ever-present Steve Eyre. How you doing, Steve?
Hi, Stel. Happy New Year. I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good, mate. I've got a few more days of self-isolating and then, back to square one again. But then again, given what Boris has said in the past couple of hours, looks like we're just going to be stuck at home again.
Yeah. Yeah. Get the board games out, mate. Get the old football videos on.
Christ, yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be homeschooling and all that. Jesus Christ.
Oh
Oh,
gosh.
well, happy days. Happy days. Well, that voice you just heard is Darren Trotman, Spurs fan and regular on the D&D Footy Factory. How you doing, Darren? You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you for having me on. This is my first shoot the defense appearance. I'm quite gassed, I'm not gonna lie.
That's right. I've got a cap for you to send it over. No?
Yeah, thanks. Mr. Southgate.
Oh no, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. How's your Christmas and New Year, mate?
Yeah, good. Quiet, which is what I enjoyed. Not looking forward to the homeschooling, as you could hear by my groans.
Yes, I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess this is a sign of the times now, isn't it, mate? We've got to be teachers ourselves. So
Yeah, I'm telling you, we're gonna have to Zoom and house party and clubhouse. That's
Christ,
lockdown, I think, for everybody.
it's going to be terrible, isn't it? But hey, I guess we've just got to ride it out. Got to ride it out.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway,
As long as we're all safe.
all right. Well, let's talk about happier things and your beloved Spurs giving Leeds United an absolute thumping at the weekend. To be fair, mate, I thought Leeds were going to get something out of this game given your form. But at the same time, we've seen Leeds in the past how they've struggled against teams with a high press, against teams that are playing with high energy, high intensity, and you guys fit the bill completely. Before we talk about the game itself, what did you expect from your team prior to kickoff, and did they do what you expect them to do?
Actually, I was on the DD Footy Factory Saturday morning and I said, we were going to lose. I thought we were going to lose. I thought Leeds with that high energy, that high intensity, that press, I didn't know if we were going to be able to handle it because I did think that Jose was going to do that whole sitting back thing. And they were apparently, I missed the game, but they were, I mean, I've seen the highlights at least 3 times. But apparently they were better than us until we scored the goal. And then we put them to the sword, which is what I expected Tottenham to do against the likes of Wolves, against the likes of Palace. Yeah, I just thought it was well executed by Jose this time because the Wolves game was I would say was totally his fault, to be honest with you. So yeah, I didn't expect to get anything from that game. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna try and front and go on like it was like I was happy about playing Leeds with the form that we were in. But I'm happy we bounced back. Kane and Son linking up again. However, I will say that 80% of our goals are scored by Kane and Son. There needs to be more of a contribution across the board. Steven Bergwijn is, I don't want to single him out, but he doesn't seem to be the player that he was when he first joined Spurs or the player that he was when he was at PSV. Missing chances, he doesn't look confident, and he's getting into positions. So I know Jose wants to persist with him. Spurs fans are on the fence with regards to him as well. But if we were to go in for a new right mid in January, I don't think I'd be too displeased, to be honest with you.
Do you think his role at Spurs or his role in an attacking perspective has been hindered by the emergence of Ndombele? Because we've seen Ndombele getting forward a lot more, being more versatile, should I say. So do you think Bergwijn is expected to do more defensive work as a result of Ndombele getting forward?
Yes, to an extent, but at the end of the day, he's getting in the positions. He is getting in. He's getting in the positions. He's getting to go forward. He's getting the ball. He's receiving the ball from Son, Kane, from Ndombele. He's getting service, and he's just not converted the chances that he gets. Liverpool. We could talk about Liverpool. We could talk two on Saturday. One, I think he skied one. He's just not got his shooting boots on. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that, to be honest with you, still.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I know that you had more shots on and off target as Leeds, but not that many. I think the only difference was 2. But at the same time, once you went a goal up, we know what Leeds are like. They're going to constantly get men forward, commit men forward, and even overcommit. And we saw with the penalty conceded, again, more defensive lapses. Son's goal, ball watching, the third goal from the viral, they didn't pick him up at the near post, which you would expect, a top level team or a Premier League team to be doing from a defensive perspective. But then again, the standard of defending has dropped over the past 5 or 6 seasons, so I shouldn't really be surprised. But all in all, you're going to be thrilled with the result, aren't you?
I am, and I'm thrilled because that was a tricky one. I really thought that was going to be a tricky one, and I'm really, really happy that we did beat Leeds. I just want to see. We just need to take that into Brentford on Tuesday because they're going to be they're no jokes either, and just carry that form on, and use that to gain momentum, because we've got Liverpool coming up this month as well. I think it's the end of the month.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I was like, I'm a bit shocked, but yeah, I'm quietly optimistic. Let's just say that.
Good, as you should be, mate. Steve, I don't want this to turn into like a Leeds bashing podcast, because I've had a few people, especially Leeds United fans, saying, "Well, you're too critical of Leeds United." And my argument has always been, well, listen, when you're at this level, you can't expect to play swashbuckling football and not get a hiding every now and again. Now, we've seen it happen a few times this season against Leicester, against Man United. Granted, they had their own opportunities, but to concede 6 in one game, 4 in another, 3 at the weekend. We spoke about Leeds' defensive deficiencies, and Alioski was pretty poor. Struijk was near no man's land most of the time. And again, it goes back to what we say about Bielsa, and I don't know what else I could ask you in terms of Bielsa's tactical nous defensively, because it's just the same thing time and time again. So will Leeds continue to play this swashbuckling style of play? Because it's almost as if that's the way that they're going to go. That's the way they're going to set up. They're not going to play it any other way, which is commendable. But at the same time, you're looking at the table and teams at the bottom, barring your Sheffield United and West Brom, the others are picking up points. So they might be looking over their shoulders soon.
Yeah, and that's when they might change, Stel. First of all, I don't think you've at any point been overcritical of Leeds, and neither have I or any of your guests. When they played against Manchester City, they were excellent at home. Obviously, the performance they put in at West Brom was breathtaking. But we've also seen this boom or bust attitude where it can basically go either way. I think at the moment they're benefiting from the promotion wave. Everybody running so hard. I think they're all a good age, the team. They're all fit. We're yet to see any fatigue. I don't expect to see that at all. But if so, it won't be now. It'll be round about March. So no, they're in good fettle in terms of an athletic product. But of course, they're wide open. You quite rightly mention every week they've got a shocking record from defending corners and set plays. But at times, they've been a breath of fresh air to the Premier League. I think this helps that there are several teams worse than them, so they've earned the right to be better than them. But there are some teams really struggling with their own identity and form and points tally, which is keeping Leeds in mid-table looking upwards, which means they can still go into every game and have a right go. I will be really interested, as you were just pretty much saying there, that if the form does change and the results consistently go against them, which is showing no sign of it. It's normally one or the other, which is why the mid-table. All of a sudden, you get in the bottom 5, you start thinking, I'll settle for a point here. Got to make sure we get a clean sheet here. Don't get beat here. And you might just see a change in their identity, but not at the moment.
Now, at the risk of us turning into Karen Carney here, because a lot of people absolutely lambasted her on social media when she came out and said that Leeds got promoted because of COVID, because of that break at COVID, and people were there to criticize her and say, well, we won 6 and drew 1 of our previous 9 fixtures before lockdown. For you to say that that's COVID's the reason why we went out is asinine, to say the least. And they said other things towards her which were quite derogatory. Leeds United's Twitter account were very, how shall we say, vocal or slanderous. I won't say slanderous, actually. They were a little bit, what's the word? frosty towards Karen Carney. Do you think that was fair for a Premier League account to be doing that, a social media account? You expect him to have a bit of banter every now and again, but they're kind of stoking up the fire by doing that, aren't they?
Must be other ways, but at the same time, they represent their club, and they feel that they have to represent their club in terms of support. And that was a show of support. There's a ways and means of doing it. Not to mention, I think Leeds United were the best team almost from pillar to post last year. They won it by 10 points. It was took a bit of heat, Karen Carney, for her comments, although she ended up on Match of the Day 2 last night as a reward. And she actually did quite well on the TV last night. For Leeds United, I would like to think they could rise above other comments, but if they want to represent what they believe is the truth, then why shouldn't they? They're a huge football club who feel that they've been slightly slandered, and they've stepped up against it and challenged it. Hopefully it can all soon be forgotten. I think she made a bit of a mistake. She looks like she's not going to go away. She, like I say, she did well on the TV last night. And Leeds United look like they'll be in the Premier League for this season and maybe for a long time. So hopefully people can get past it.
One more thing, Steve. What do you know about Poveda? Because I think we had a message on a conversation on the group chat over the weekend. And I was like, well, he's played for about 5 or 6 different academies, hasn't he? He's been at Arsenal, Barcelona, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he? At City at one point, and now he's at Leeds. And yet he's still quite young. What is it about a player, a teenager, going from academy to academy? Well, there must be something going on there, surely, no?
Well, I don't believe he's done anything with distinction, albeit that he's had a real, big journey early part of his career. Agents tend to move players around, chasing the dollar, chasing the dream. Young players can become quite nomadic and want to do the same thing. You'd like to think it was all, football ambition, but, you might just tend to not become loyal to an academy where you've been there since you were 9 as a schoolboy and gone through the system. You're a foreign player that comes over and you're just trying to find the best pathway for yourself, ideally for your football, but also, lucratively for your career. So maybe he's looked at that and, he's been unsettled, or he's unsettled himself just to, believing that the grass is greener elsewhere, but he's certainly been nomadic.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I was doing a check on his background. He was born in Southwark in South London. He's got Colombian heritage, so he can play for the Colombian national team, but he's represented England at many levels, under 16s right the way through to under 20. So when I saw he's been at Barcelona, he's been at Arsenal, he's been at Chelsea, he's been at Brentford, Man City, and now he's at Leeds, I'm thinking, wow, he's 20 years old, and yet he's at his, 6th club? But I don't know, maybe it's an agent thing, mate, but then again, at the same time, well, it's very rare to see a youngster going through so many academies, and they're good academies as well. It's not as if it was a League Two team, no disrespect. We're talking about elite academies here.
No, but a better footballing offer for a pathway or a better wage slip can always turn somebody's head, not in the whole, but in the main. And, like I say, there's that many people involved these days around these young footballers. You've obviously got the immediate family who may need supporting. A lot of these young players these days support support parents, brothers, whole families, cousins, uncles, and it stretches far and wide. And the golden ticket is what they're all chasing. And sometimes it can spoil a player's career. And obviously, other times it can make it.
Absolutely. Right. Let's talk about Wolves getting a draw against Brighton. I should say Brighton getting a draw against Wolves, because Wolves are 3-1 up. It was an incredible game when you think about it. But again, there are so many holes I can pick out of this game, Darren. I look at Wolves' goals, 2 of the 3 anyway. Semedo miskicks a shot from the corner, which then allows him to cross the ball for Wolves' equaliser. The own goal from Byrne, I think it was Byrne. The goalkeeper's parried it out to him. The goalkeeper's parried it into his path and it's gone in. But then Wolves are kind of like the makers of their own downfall. They conceded the penalty. They conceded the first goal when they just weren't marking the striker. There was 3 men in the 6-yard box. None of them were looking at the striker. And the equaliser, I don't know what Adama and Neves were doing. Both of them, it's almost as if they decided to chase Dunk. Then they changed their minds, and Adama decided that he was going to go for it, but then he thought, well, I'm just going to lift my arm to pull his shirt. But by that time, Dunk was 2 feet in the air, and the ball's in the back of the net. It was an absolute clusterfuck, wasn't it? It was a shit fest of football. But at the same time, for the neutral, you're going to love watching results like that, aren't you?
Yeah, you are. You are. Wolves, this is the thing. I think they're quite hit and miss. They have been ever since they've come into the Prem. They've just been quite hit and miss. So they can have these results. They can have some brilliant results and they can have some inexplicable ones. And this was one of them. Again, credit to Brighton for hanging in there. I believe Brighton are fairly good footballing side, to be honest with you. I just don't think they're very clinical. However, Connolly actually stepped up. He didn't dive this time. I just see him as a diver. I haven't really rated him since he's come in to the Prem. But he stepped up to the plate. Lewis Dunk is, he's putting in captain's performances, getting crucial goals. So yeah, I would credit Brighton's resilience. And yes, Wolves did sit back and they were complacent. To let 2 goals in 20 minutes. But it doesn't surprise me, to be honest with you, Stel, because that can be Wolves. That really can be. They go from the sublime to the ridiculous.
Yeah.
A bit like Leeds, but better. You understand? So yeah, they can do that. So I mean, I saw the result. I saw 3-1. I saw they were 3-1 up, and I thought, this game's done. And it's only in the evening, Saturday. I think it was like Saturday evening. I was
That's
like,
right, yeah.
it finished 3-3. I was like, flipping, I didn't even realize. But again, I'm just not surprised. I really am not surprised. Yeah, that's what I would say about them.
Yeah, Wolves had the chance right at the end to win it, and the kid headed it over the bar, which was a shame for him. But Steve, it goes back to what we were talking about with Wolves in terms of their system. They went back to a 4-2-3-1, and something tells me that they're trying their best to get a tune out of Semedo. And granted, he's had a few good games this season, but ever since that Champions League game for Barcelona against Bayern Munich, where he was absolutely ripped to shreds, I don't know how he can come back from this. And again, it's almost as if Nuno is changing his system to accommodate this one player. That's how it seems to me anyway. I'm not saying that that's what he's doing, but it just seems that he can't get a tune out of him in a 3-4-2-1, whichever system he's been playing before, or 5-3-2. But when he plays him in a 4-4-2, he gets a little bit more out of him. For me, replacing that right back that's gone to Spurs has been a bigger issue than anything else at the moment.
Yeah, and the right back at Spurs, Doherty, is not actually always a regular for different reasons. But I do think everything you're saying there, Stel, about Wolves is correct. But also, I think attack was very much their best form of defence. We've discussed before, but when you've got Jota in your team and when you've got Jimenez in your team, the chances are one of 2 really positive things. One is you're going to score more goals, possibly get in front more often, and you've got something to defend. And equally, even if you're not scoring a goal, you've got that talent of those 2 players that are keeping you up the pitch longer. Now, one's gone to Liverpool and one's had a horrific injury, and there's something missing in the Wolves strike force, which means I believe even though they got 3 at Brighton, they're not winning as many games, they're not scoring as many goals, and they're not staying up the pitch longer. So consequently, you don't stay up the pitch longer, your midfield takes the strain, and if that gets breached, you're doing more defending. So I believe Wolves' best form of, even though the back 3 with Connor Cody in the middle of it got a lot of credit last year and applause, and I was happy to do that too. I believe it's the fact that they've lost off the front, which is making them more fragile now at the back because it's getting breached.
Fair enough. Good analysis there. I like it. Because again, looking at Wolves' system, I'm thinking, well, they're pretty solid in the middle of the park. I think Ruben Neves is a fantastic player. He hasn't really had that many opportunities this season for whatever reason. Moutinho, he's really gone off the ball recently.
Sure.
Could be a form thing, could be a confidence thing. He conceded the penalty. But again,
he's getting on a bit as well, Sorry to that.
I agree. But at the same time, I think he's performed better with Dendoncker in the middle of the park, and him being missing has obviously hurt them. So they have been unfortunate with injuries and player departures. And I just think that this summer perhaps is going to be another rebuild for them. I can't see them wilting away next season like they've done this season, in the back end of last season. But
we're just seeing a change in his character, the manager now. His interviews are longer, they've got more strain, they've got more complaint, they've got complaints about referees, English referees who've been refereeing for 15 years in the league. Just get the feeling now that he is bursting, a bit like Sean Dyche at Burnley, as if to say, he's not telling us, but you feel that he's thinking, I've taken this team as far as I can and I'm doing well and I'm overachieving. back me a little bit more, and I'll do even more. Dice is one, and I believe Nuno at Wolves is another, and Wolves just appear to be teetering on the point of decline because of it.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Darren, another club on decline, Sheffield United. Well, where do we go with this? 2-0 defeat at Crystal Palace at the weekend. What can you say about this? I know Sheffield United brought in a youngster who was 16 years old near the end of the game, but it was the Eze show, wasn't it, mate? Absolutely stunning finish. Although, again, me being the critic that I am when it comes to defending, you can't just let someone with that skill and pace run at you and back off and back off and back off. He had at least 6 yards of space before rolling it in the back of the net. It was a controlled finish. It was a lovely finish, but defending in fact, even the midfielders didn't even bust the gut to get to him. It was shocking.
Yeah, it was really poor. It was really poor. Credit to Eze though, because I've always thought he's a baller from he was at QPR, in the Spurs group chat, and I did say, what about Eze for Spurs? A lot of people said no, but I really do rate him. He's going to go very far. He can stay injury free. He's going to go very far. But yes, defending from Sheffield United was shocking, because as I was watching that goal, I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, why are you backing off? Why are you just backing off? I mean, all right, he got past one midfielder, but the defender on the edge of the box, you close him down immediately. You close him down. He had the time. And like you said, it was a great shot. It was a great pass into the back of the net, but you close him right down. And Sheffield United, who were commended for their defending last season, this season, they've just gone to pot. And also, they're not clinical up front either. So it's just really poor from them. I can't see them coming back from that 2 points. It's 2 points, isn't it? 2 points from 17 games.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and get the table up here because
it's 2 points. 2 points. I can see
17.
2 points from 52
games.
points. I heard.
Yeah, that is so poor. I mean, the thing is as well, they bought Ryan Brewster. It was a strange one for me when they bought him, and I was hoping that he would do well at Sheffield United. But I thought, well, he doesn't really fit your system, does he? The way you play, he doesn't really fit your system. So you'll find more often than not they're using Ollie McBurney, and I think they played two or three up front this game. I think they played Brewster McGoldrick, yeah. So it's just not working. It isn't working. Brewster I believe that was the wrong move for Ryan Brewster. But in general, Sheffield United are offering nothing now. They used to get the 1-0s. Now they're not doing that. They're not even scoring. I can't see them coming back from it. But credit to Palace. I would say as well that Wilfred Zaha has been instrumental. I'm finding he's maturing with regards to his end product. I'm finding that he was never a headless chicken as far as I was concerned, but his end product, he's producing the results. He's really instrumental in Palace going forward, and now they've got Eze as well, and Benteke coming back into a little bit of form. Palace ain't doing too badly, so yeah, credit to them, but. Yeah, I don't know where Sheffield United go from here, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll tell you what, Crystal Palace have got another little gem. They've got that left-back Mitchell, who had a pretty decent game. And obviously with Schlupp in front of him, protecting him, a player that knows how to defend as well, that's obviously helped him out. But Steve, when you look at Sheffield United, because it seems to be every time we discuss Sheffield United, I come straight to you, you're probably getting fed up with it. But again, you made a point in the group chat earlier about Mousse and how he's behaved off the field. When's it going to come to a point where Wilder's going to turn around and say to some of his players, you know what, your behaviour off the pitch is disgusting, you ain't playing for this club again, or until you back up your ideas?
I think he's the type of character of a manager that would do, albeit that I think he takes a hell of a lot on himself. I've heard the nice young reporters say, the rain was a bit heavy today. No, he says, don't give me any of that. I thought we played quite well today. No, it's nonsense. And I've sit up here, I stood there, I stood behind the goal there. He touches the badge. He takes it all on, which is very admirable. But at the same time, I don't think he's getting any type of help anywhere across his football team. Not one person is stepping up and putting their arm up as if to say, visibly, I'm with you. Whether it by performance, whether it by a crunching tackle, which is fair within a game, a bit of skill, some extra effort. Nobody, they just are all completely drifting. And it's all right being the leader. You get the salary, the responsibility, and you get all the plaudits when it goes well. 2 back-to-back promotions there or thereabouts, League One and Championship, playing the best football. But now he's taking all the medicine. It's like he's taking the whole bottle. And I don't believe that it's completely fair. But it is also his character. But he's obviously, at the helm. And listening to Darren there, I don't know if he's heard our previous podcast, but in terms of Brewster, it feels to me like they've spent 19 million too much on him. On Ramsdale, the goalkeeper, at 18 million. That's certainly 17 million too much. Yeah. McBurney, 20 million. I know what the market is. You pay these silly things, but that's probably 15 million too much. And they've also wasted money on Jack Rodwell. Ravel Morrison's been through the system and gone. And they've wasted one bundles of it in the budget in terms of the recruitment. So I don't know how we can change it. Sorry, Stel, to go back to your first point about the noise, about Mousset crashing a car, I believe, allegedly into parked cars in the middle of the night on his way back from the game. So what, tired at the wheel or worse, well, it's all alleged, but it's not ideal noise. And it just goes with, the pink kit, the indoor cricket that I see at the training ground, the polystyrene cups of tea that the staff drink while the game's going on. And it's just not what you want from a team 2 points at the bottom of the league. But the manager is continuously, wanting to step up and take the full responsibility for it. But he needs 24 more people to do the same, and they might move forward.
Yeah, see, I was going to ask you, should they invest in January? But given their track record, no point, is it? there's no point whatsoever. So I think that's it for them. To be honest, I can't see them getting out of it. If they do, it'll be the greatest escape in Premier League history.
Burke, from West Brom, who went abroad, not really got a goal in him. What has he actually got? Tiny bit of size, tiny bit of skill, but not lots of anything. Osborne from Notts Forest, he's got a good left foot, but he's about 5'7". In the Premier League, it's just not, suitable for you to be successful. And playing different players in this left centre-back position. Jack Robinson, Edna Stevens. I think Osborne drops back there and has a go because they're missing Jack O'Connell. And the goalkeeper never keeps a clean sheet. It's not continuously his fault. But there are so many things. They used to be the kings of set plays, but everybody's worked them out in the Premier League. They were in the Championship and League One. They were set afar in terms of creativity of set plays. The crowd are missing like they are everywhere else, but they're certainly missing there. It's no longer a tough place to go, Bramall Lane. You used to go there and have to quieten the crowd for the first 20 minutes. Nobody has to do that anymore. And like I say, the manager looks helpless, not hopeless, helpless, and he's getting no football support. That's how it seems to me.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Well, we were saying that about Arteta a couple of weeks ago, weren't we, Darren? Well, I don't know if you were listening. Actually, you weren't on the show. We were saying that about Arteta, how he was struggling and how we thought, the run of fixtures over Christmas might determine whether he stays as manager or gets the boot. But lo and behold, another fantastic victory. I know it's only West Brom, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And Kieran Tierney was a man possessed. But I want to give a special mention to Emile Smith-Rowe, who was absolutely phenomenal, in my opinion. He's running off the ball, always looking to make that diagonal run, move into space. The build-up for Arsenal's second goal from Saka was incredible. And as a Spurs fan, I know you probably don't like to admit that they've played well, but they could have had a lot more, couldn't they? It was just one-way traffic.
Yeah, they dominated the game. As much as I hate to say it, for real, but they did dominate the game. I don't know. They just seem to be enjoying their football these last few games. They got one win and it's really galvanized them. Going back to Chelsea, I wasn't expecting that, but geez, well, I would say credit to them. I don't mean it. So, but they really handled West Brom. They really did. Tierney played very, very well. It's probably one of the best games I've seen him play all season, if not the best game. I want to give I give a lot of credit to Saka, because all through thick or thin, he has been, busting a gut for them. He's very industrious. He's trying to make chance. Trying to make things happen. He's, even when the team looked lethargic, Saka was trying to make things happen, and I think it can spread through to the rest of the team. And you are right. Emil Smith-Rowe had a great game. I think he's had about 2 or 3 great games so far. Ever since he's come into the first team, he's actually been he's looked dangerous, and he seems to have added to that team dynamic right now, that positive team dynamic right now. So yeah, good. And Lacazette also, now he's not playing number 10. He's a bit more central, and he's stepping up to the plate and getting the goals as well. So yeah, they are gaining momentum. So it'll be interesting to see if they can carry that on.
Yeah, it will be, mate. And Steve, it's funny how we were talking about Danny Ceballos after the Burnley game, how he was playing very deep. He didn't have any runners in front of the ball, which would then enable him to play those balls. And believe it or not, on the weekend, he had Aubameyang, Smith-Rowe, and Bukayo Saka in front of him. And he had a very good game, this Ceballos. And to be fair, I think it was Lacazette's first goal. They panned out, and you saw Ceballos on his knees celebrating, because that's how much the goal meant to him. And I think, again, they've got such a talented player there in Ceballos. All this talk about Ozil, about, he's their most creative player. Danny Ceballos is ultimately, for me, the next man to come in to replace Mesut Ozil. I know that's a big statement to make, but I think he's that good. But again, going back to Smith-Rowe there, Steve, he's got a lot of potential. And I like the fact that he's got his socks rolled down to his ankles as well. Very Paul Merson-esque, isn't it?
I saw him at Huddersfield last year, and he was very hit-miss, or maybe, like lads are in early loans. But another year on, he's benefiting now from the faith of the manager, still playing for a huge club. I think there's been a bit of insincerity at the club in terms of the players' attitudes and application, and it's almost got to breaking point where they probably like Arteta. They probably felt comfortable with him, and a lot of them probably felt they were never getting dropped, but they were losing every week. And then all of a sudden, they're not getting too much criticism for it, but the manager's getting most of it, and he's nearly out of the door. So it's a shame that it got to that point from their point of view, but it's what's worked, because just as he was probably fearing the sack, Solskjaer's had the same. Arteta, for sure, he's managed to get one result, and it's that lift that Chris Wilder, funnily enough, is now saying that one result can change your season. Well, it possibly is going to do for Arsenal, has done for Manchester United in back play, won't do for Sheffield United, but Arsenal now all of a sudden look like a team that I never thought could be in the top 4, but could disturb the top 4, and obviously, challenge towards being 5th or 6th. They've got a bit of making up to do for the way they've let the club down in the last 2 months. But they're certainly back on the right road. And you're right, in centre midfield. Obviously I don't know their injury. So when's Partey back? When does he get fit?
I haven't got a clue, mate. I haven't got a clue. I don't know if it's a long-term or a short-term thing. To be honest, with the way social media is at the moment, you can't really believe too much of what people say. Some people say he's going to be out till March. Some people say he's going to be out till February. So right. I'm not entirely sure. But he's obviously a big loss for them. But in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the way that the club have progressed in the past few weeks, I've got to give credit to Arteta. I said they need to give him time. They need to give him the opportunity to turn things around. And on top of that, I think he's been very, very clever as to how he's handled the media. And by that, I mean, you see managers like Jose Mourinho, whenever he's interviewed and his team doesn't do well, he's been known for deflecting attention off his players. He's not going to throw them under the bus in public unless he's coaching Man United. He's going to do that to Lukaku and other players. But in the past, Jose Mourinho has been very good at deflecting attention off his players. And that's what Arteta has been doing for the past few weeks, hasn't he? That comment about percentages and all these other things, and focusing the attention more on himself, adding pressure to himself to alleviate the pressure off his own players. And I think that's a very brave decision to make, especially for a rookie manager. And on top of that, I'm sure a lot of his players value what he's done, because granted, I know the likes of Willian and Luis and the other Gabriel, they were out because of COVID, but he made the brave decision to bring in Marie and Holding. They haven't played together as a central defensive pairing. He's decided to go with 2 youngsters in a more advanced position, as in Smith-Rowe and Saka, and he's kept faith in Lacazette and Aubameyang, who hasn't scored any goals, and they're reaping the rewards. And as much as I don't rate Hector Bellerin as a fullback or as a footballer, I think he's done a fantastic job this season, mate. I can't fault the guy. He's been ever present. He's tried his best. And that's all you can ask for from a player, no?
Yeah, it's very true, and I think Darren mentioned it at the start. Probably as good a performance as anybody in the Premier League put in at weekend came from Kieran Tierney.
Oh yes,
I was super impressed. I'm aware of him, you know, and you think this Andy Robertson at Liverpool has been putting them performances in for a solid 12 months, but that was as good as anything I've seen for some time. What he put in against West Brom.
If you're Sam Allardyce, are you going to be fuming with the right back though? Because Tierney took him on the outside, beat him there, and then he brought him in on the inside, and he beat him there as well. So it's almost as if the fullback didn't have a bloody clue how to cope with it.
Yeah, and a big space and no cover, big space between the fullback and the winger, and he just chanced his arm. I used to see Peter Barnes for Manchester City, England, and Manchester United knock it one side and run round the other. Seeing it with Kanchelskis, which was just absolute speed. I've not actually seen for years any player knock it round a defender and run round the other. I would actually say it's as more embarrassing as you can get for a defender when that happens to you. And at the end of it, there was a goal. Not great for West Brom.
Yeah. I think Antonio Valencia tried it a few times, but then he knocked it out of play. So the less said about him, the better, to be honest. Right, Leicester, good result there, Darren, against Newcastle United. Although what I will say, as bad as Newcastle have been in certain parts of the season, especially Leeds United away, the 2 goals that they conceded, mate, Maddison and Tielemans, the space that they had was unbelievable. I think Maddison had about 5 yards of space before hitting the ball. And Tielemans, you know when they say breaking the lines, he literally was in between the lines. There was no one was paying attention to him. The finish was fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He used the defender as like a shield. So it was a guide, should I say, to arch it around him. But if you're Steve Bruce, you must be fuming with those goals conceded, because they weren't like defensive errors from not being able to clear the ball or being the first, or being first to the ball or second to the ball. It was literally giving them yards of space.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm a stickler for closing a man down. You know, in my Saturday league days, in my years of playing Saturday league, it's just one of the basics. You can't be sitting off James Maddison. Do you know what I mean? You cannot be sitting off James Maddison and just watching him. You don't do that. You should be closing them down. They were great goals, but Steve Bruce would have been tearing his hair out, being Steve Bruce and being the great defender that he was. He must have really rollicked them when they got back into the dressing room, because really and truly they were avoidable. You just close that down. It could have been a deflection, even if it deflected and went into the goal. At least you tried. But they didn't try it. And Tielemans, nobody tracked his run. Nobody's tracking his run. So, I mean, he saw the pass and nobody went for it. So Newcastle have only got themselves to blame. Leicester had that game. They deserve to win that game. But you've got to be kicking yourselves for not doing the basics.
That's the story of Newcastle's season from a defensive perspective. The goals that they conceded, if you look at Leeds United away when they got hammered, every single goal, okay, we can talk about the last 2 goals because they were chasing the game, but the first 3, it was basic mistakes, like ball watching, not tracking the man. It was horrible. I'm thinking, how does it come to this? How do you do this? You're top level footballers, man. It's not, again, no disrespect, non-league. It's not League 2. You should know this.
But the thing is, at the end of you did allude to it earlier about defending getting worse over the last 5 and 6 years, and it is true, because there are the fundamentals that seem to be missing. Tracking your man, closing the ball down, the individual errors. Going back to very quickly to Toby Alderweireld's goal against Leeds, right? There were 4 men around him, There were 4 men around him, and he still beat everybody at the near post. And those are things that they're just completely fundamental. I think also Martial's goal, we haven't got to the United game, Martial's goal, Tyrone Mings not picking him up, letting him stoop down and get that header in. Those are basics. For me, those are the basics. And I know that the modern day football is playing the ball out and making sure you're passing the passing's there, you're playing the ball out and everything, but at the end of the day, you got to get the basics right. You really must.
Well, I agree with you, mate. It's infuriating to watch, and I'm glad you mentioned the United game, because that's the next one I wanted to talk about. And yes, United took the lead through Anthony Martial's header. Tyrone Mings should have done a lot better. In fact, I think he probably misjudged the cross or the timing. I don't know how he didn't clear his lines, because for me, that's meat and drink for a defender at his level. But then when you look at Aston Villa's equaliser, what Wan-Bissaka was doing, I don't know. Again, I'm thinking maybe that's just naivety, maybe it's youth. But then again, you're thinking you're a top-level footballer. Okay, I understand you tried to stop the quick free kick. Why are you still standing there? Why aren't you going back into your space? There was acres of space there. And by the time he's got back, the ball's in the back of the net. It was absolutely ridiculous. But at the same time, I've got to criticise Luke Shaw for not tracking the man. Steve, what do you make of that United game against Aston Villa? Defensive errors all over the place, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was, but it's two teams again with not much to fear at the moment. The manager no longer fearing the sack, the team no longer fearing defeat, and Aston Villa, a progressive football team who nearly got relegated on the last day of the season, and now probably have got sights on finishing in the top 7. So it was a refreshing game in terms of attacking talent. I think Grealish was the best player on the pitch. I was obviously alarmed a little bit that post-match, everybody has looked at the Pogba incident. I think there's been a bit on social media a couple of minutes earlier suggesting how he should tell Luke Shaw that he should dive for a penalty, and then 3 minutes later he did it himself. And everybody is saying Dean Smith immediately after the game, Aston Villa manager, and the rest of us football supporters saying that possibly he's gone the bouncing ball, took a little bit of weight off the opponent, the defender, and then clipped his own heels and got himself a penalty. Almost to a man, everybody's saying that. Is it gamesmanship? Is it good play? Is it sneaky? Is it clever? Whatever it is. But we're all saying it when we watch it back. But how come the officials don't watch it back and think the same?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, when I first saw it, I thought, he's not going to give that, because it's almost as if their legs got tangled. If that happened in the middle of the park, you're probably going to think drop ball, or I didn't think penalty. But then when they looked at it, showed it a different angle, I thought, maybe Douglas Luiz touched. It's Douglas Luiz, isn't it?
Yeah.
Douglas Luiz. Yeah, I thought he tripped him. I couldn't tell myself. And as a United fan, I was watching, I'm thinking, if we get this penalty, it's going to be a bit suspect, because it's soft, isn't it? It's soft.
Well, I think there's a landslide of people that go with the Aston Villa manager that believe that Pogba has clipped his own heels. Pogba, with the video evidence, I'm sure would say, yeah, it looks like that, but he's caught me, and I didn't do it on purpose. But there's no doubt about it. It wasn't a stick-on penalty, and it does look like he's manipulated his own manoeuvres for his own gains, and United have won the game by it.
When it comes to VAR, the one thing I've noticed is that there aren't that many angles. Right. You don't really see that many angles, do you? You might see the original one. You might see a zoomed-in version. You might see one at the touchline, but there's never one above. There's never one on the opposite side. And it makes the decision even more difficult. And you're thinking that with the technology that we have, add an extra couple of cameras, and you might be able to make a more informed decision, no?
Yeah, interesting that, Stel. We're just thinking of the Wembley Cup finals I've been to. You sit there and you see the camera, for Sky, I think it is, and it hovers 30 foot above the players, looking down.
Spider cam, as they call it. I think.
Like drone. I was going to say. So is that what it's called? So you can only imagine, to reinforce and back up what you're saying, that doesn't look like VAR is going away, so it'll only get enhanced, and that might be to come. Stel, you might have landed on something there.
Fingers crossed. Well, look, if you see NFL,
trademark it.
Well, yeah. Well, listen, NFL do it all the time, don't they? They've got even virtual reality, don't they? So they augmented reality, should I say? So you can literally see everything. You can even see through a play. It's like X-ray vision.
But Stel, before you go, Aston Villa can't complain about anything about VAR, can they? As we've discussed, how they got away with that Ollie Norwood Sheffield United goal last year, which was 2 yards in, but the VAR machine was broke in the goal, whatever it was.
Hawkeye, wasn't it?
Hawkeye, which meant the goal was not only in the back of the net, it was halfway up the Holt end. Chris Wilder said, and the malaise from Sheffield United almost from that point, and the boost it gave Aston Villa in staying in the Premier League seems to be a forgotten memory, but not by me.
Well, I think most Sheffield United fans won't forget that either in a hurry. Darren, I was talking to my friend Anthony today. Anthony used to work for a few newspapers, and I'm not going to mention his surname, but I think you can gather because he's Greek as well. And he was saying to me, "Still, United are title contenders." I said, "No, we're not, mate." Because why'd you say that? You got such a fantastic form. You got in fantastic form at the moment. You might not be playing well in certain games, but you're getting results. You're getting victories. And my answer was, because I know this team. I know what they're capable of, and I know what they're not capable of, right? And Eric Bailly's last-ditch challenge was a difference between a point and 3 points at the end of the day. And as good as a performance he put in, he's got mistakes in him. Maguire's got mistakes in him. Luke Shaw's got mistakes in him. We saw Wan-Bissaka's got mistakes in him. And even the goalkeeper, who I know has been a quite assured presence recently, I'm still not convinced that United can challenge for the title. I'm not convinced at all. It'll take a lot.
Do you know the thing is? Because I was, you know what? I've been on other podcasts and said Spurs will win the title. And
yeah, but that's just your love for your club, man. That's you getting excited
but listen,
because you've got a manager.
Anybody in that top, I'm looking at the table right now. So you've got Liverpool, United second, Leicester third, Spurs fourth, City fifth. Southampton have just beaten Liverpool. So I'm not saying that they'll win the title, but Man United are there or thereabouts. I'm surprised. Yes, I am, but they are getting the results. The thing that struck me is when Eric Bailly made that last-ditch tackle. The final whistle went, and they just all rushed him. The team rushed him, and I noticed that the team spirit seems to be so much better now. It's improved so much. They seem to be enjoying their football. They seem to be, adhering more to Ole's way of playing, and they've got a leader in Bruno Fernandes. He's just the difference maker in that side. I rue the day that Daniel Levy didn't say yes to that deal, because what he's done for United, it's great. You've got to be loving him. You have to be loving him. All right, Donny van der Beek is a weird decision. Buying him if you're not going to play him is a weird decision. But right about now, that United are playing well. Pogba's coming back into form. Martial's getting a few goals. Rashford is in a bit of I wouldn't say a rich vein of form, but he's on form. And Bruno Fernandes is doing the thing. And De Gea's getting back to form. Do you know what I mean?
I see that.
You're there or thereabouts. At the end of the day, it's January. It's January, and you're second. So I would say believe. I would say believe. I believe. I don't care. I believe. Call me a biased Tottenham fan, whatever you want, but I believe we can do it. But United have really, really, really improved, and they're playing really well. So I don't see why not. That's the truth of the matter. I don't see why not.
Well, look, let's see. With the way that things are at the moment, a couple of players get COVID. They're out for 2 weeks, minimum 10 days, should I say. So you just never know what could happen. City are slowly creeping up, and you can't take your eye off them because they're going to be in and around the top 4, 100%, or even the top 2. As you mentioned, Liverpool lost tonight. I didn't see too much of the game. I saw Danny Ings' goal. I think it was more like a hooked cross more than anything. Liverpool were knocking at the door, didn't really do too much to worry the goalkeeper. But we'll talk about Liverpool in just a moment. But Steve, do you think United can win the league this season?
Yes, I do. Just as we were both talking there, from a Manchester City persuasion of my own, I have to talk about forget what Liverpool were last year and City were the year before. The team with the best front two in the Premier League at the moment is Tottenham Hotspur. The team with the best front three is Liverpool. The team with the best front three just behind that is City. If it's Mahrez, but you can't say because Aguero's just months from his last. Well, it's 12 months since his last Premier League goal for a start. But Manchester United have got the best 6 forwards in the Premier League. 6. So that gives you a hell of a chance. They've got the strongest squad. They've got the biggest squad, it seems. where Liverpool benefited last year with no injuries and they're getting them this year and a bit of trauma. United seem to be benefiting from that. There's some good work going on medically, I think. My friend Robin Sadler's just gone in there, overseeing the department from Manchester City and Derby County. Excellent physio. There's already some good work going on, clearly, because they don't appear to be hampered by injuries. But they could put a front three out and a front three behind that and another two behind that, even if you all the way go down to Lingard. So, like I say, the depth they've got in their front line could be the difference. Tottenham haven't got it, but they've got the best front two. City are playing midfielders up there, and they're one of the best strikers in the world. He's a year off scoring a goal of the Premier League. Liverpool aren't firing. United have got 6 to choose from. They have to be in contention.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know there's no Champions League, so that's one less of a distraction. But obviously, there's Europa League. I can't see Ollie playing a full-strength squad or a full-strength side in that competition, especially if United are in and around top 2. So let's see. Well, look, you mentioned City, Steve. Victory against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Game was over first half, but it could have been a cricket score. The amount of chances you guys created and Chelsea defensively were worse than probably West Brom.
Yeah. Stel, I have a big smile on my face. I think I speak for everybody. It wasn't just the numbers, the result, it was the manner of the performance, and wondering if City could ever put a performance like that. And again, clearly they can. The interesting thing now is if they could, do that again and again and again, and obviously become title contenders and eventually go on and win it. But it was one of the best performances that you'll see in the Premier League this season. It was one of City's best performances for 12 months. De Bruyne at his best. Sterling only gets noted for his goals, but he was such a handful with his pace. Foden again, brilliant, stepping up, stepping in. Not that he's a novice now, he's getting on towards 100 games, but he just produces every single time he plays. Leaving Mahrez sat down on the bench. Bernardo Silva, thankfully, back to his almost everything best. And Rodri in midfield, just holding it all together. Everybody's superb. I could go on. My pleasure in watching them was seeing Frank Lampard quite pleased how Chelsea played for 10 minutes, which fine, they were the best team. But then when City took the game over, I was alarmed for Chelsea how tactically City took the game over, basically playing 6v3 midfield. They were raiding, they were keeping the ball, they were having triangles, they were dribbling and driving towards Chelsea's goal. But my alarm was that how Chelsea allowed this to happen for so long without changing it tactically, squeezing the lines, putting extra players in the middle of the pitch and blocking off running lanes. And it was like a boxer that goes into the ring and just has his gloves by the side of his waist and just keeps getting punched on the chin. And City just had 40 minutes for themselves where they were absolutely sensational. And you get the feeling at half-time it was, lads, stay out of trouble here. And I think Chelsea probably were grateful for that in the second half, that it wasn't an absolute massacre. But not the first 40 minutes, but the 40 minutes before half-time, which is basically all the first half, City was sensational.
Yeah, absolutely. And Darren, talking about Chelsea here, mate, I look at that squad and I don't see anything where I can think, wow, they can really tear teams apart. I look at Spurs, you can dismantle teams. Liverpool can do it. City can do it. United can do it. I look at Chelsea, I'm thinking, where's the next 4-0 going to happen? When's the 6-0 romping going to happen? Again, I look at them, I'm thinking, all right, they're devoid of confidence. I don't think they've got much faith in that manager. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but Lampard doesn't look like the confident, Frank Lampard, Chelsea legend, touching the badge, all that kind of stuff that he used to be. I'm not sure how long he's got left. I don't want to really delve into that, but in terms of Chelsea's performance at the weekend, in terms of Chelsea's performance in the past 3 or 4 weeks, something's not right there, is it?
No. I'm a firm believer of Lampard. The fact that Frank Lampard has bitten off more than he can chew with that job. I don't feel like a lot of the new signings have that much confidence in him. I don't think he's developed a system at Chelsea as yet. If he's going to at all, I've said it before, I'll say it again. They're top heavy. They bought all of this firepower up front. Got Ziyech in midfield, but I don't feel it's good enough for me. And at the back, they're still leaking goals. Is Mendy different to Kepa at this particular moment in time? maybe less individual errors, but he's letting in just as many goals, if not more. I don't know. Thiago Silva's 36. Yes, it's experience, but he's 36 years old. Kurt Zuma is Kurt Zuma. Ben Chilwell he's all right. He's doing well, but I just don't see it with Chelsea. Frank Lampard has always got. It's always Tammy Abraham and Olivier Giroud saving their bacon. And I think if I'm Abramovich, I'm saying, well, that's inexcusable because at the end of the day, I've just given you £222 million to spend. So, Werner playing on the left, I think he will come good under a different manager because he's trying. He's just missing. He's missing some sitters. He's quick. He's trying. But he needs to be sort of in the middle a bit more. I used to see him as more of an out-and-out striker. If he'd gone to Liverpool, he'd be thriving right now. I'll tell you that much. Kai Havertz, yes, he struggled. He misses Leverkusen, but he's been played out on the right. He's more of a number 10. You know what I mean? So he's been played out of position. Lampard doesn't know what to do with him. Pulisic looking a little lost at the moment, probably because he's been injured. But I just don't think they're subscribing to Lampard's style of play. And I just can't see it with Chelsea. I know people were talking about Chelsea being title contenders a couple of weeks ago. I don't see it. I just don't see it. City dominated them, and City dominated them, and they it was like City. I thought, well, City are being ravaged by COVID, and they still handled Chelsea like they were flipping West Brom.
Yeah. I think the concerning thing, if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd look at that lineup, and you're looking at Azpilicueta at right back. Where's the protection for him? He's not blessed with pace. He's on the wrong side of 30, and you're expecting the likes of Ziyech to track back, but Ziyech's not that kind of player. If they had someone like Hudson-Odoi, he'd probably get that protection. Then you're looking at Chilwell, fullback that loves to get forward, but when he gets forward, who's helping him? Who's covering him? Because Pulisic ain't going to track back. Most of Chelsea's goals that they've conceded this season, if you find the video montage of the goals they've conceded, they've all originated from out wide. They haven't been able to cope with teams that play very expansive style of play, but like to get it out wide, and they can't cope with it. And it's no surprise because normally you'd have a winger supporting the fullback, doubling up, but they don't do that. And I don't know whether it's tactical naivety. I don't know whether Lampard just doesn't have the players to do it, or maybe they're not listening to them. But then again, if they weren't listening to him, they wouldn't be playing. So I don't know exactly what's going on. I can't understand the fascination with Mason Mount. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's fantastic. N'Golo Kante has just gone backwards, and Kovacic is, I don't know, he just looks like just statuesque recently. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know whether it's just confidence. I don't know. Back in the day, it just doesn't look good for Chelsea, does it? Honestly.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And again, they just need I'm really of the belief they need a better manager who can play them to their strengths. And yes, this fascination with Mason Mount is a bit weird to me. Yes, he is. You're right. He is good, but he's not great. But he's not. He seemed to fare better with the team he had last season, using all the youngsters. I don't really see why he deviated from that.
I think that's because he had less pressure. I think that's because he had less pressure. He had nothing to lose. He came in from Derby County, not much experience as a head coach. Didn't have any money to spend on players. He had to deal with what he had. And now he's been given a shit ton of money. He's brought in X amount of players, big names, big transfer fees, big reputations. Let's not forget Werner and Havertz. If you were to believe social media, they were the next best thing to come out of the Bundesliga, weren't they? They were supposed to be better than Sane. They were meant to be better than Lewandowski, or so some idiots would say. They come to the Premier League, they can't settle down, but the pressure is now on Lampard. And you're right, he had it better last season because the pressure wasn't as high. But now, pressure bursts pipes, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I believe he's bitten off more than he can chew. He wasn't ready for that job. I mean, I'm not saying he's not going to be a good manager. He'll be a great coach. He's got a very intelligent footballing brain. At the end of the day, and I think he'll be a good coach. But it was just too much. It's too much for him. A lower level Premiership or Championship side, cut your teeth. You know what I mean? Cut your teeth somewhere else. But not at Chelsea where there's intense pressure and you've got given the money and you're failing. That's the crux of the matter.
Mm. Steve, you reckon Brendan is going to get a phone call from Mr. Abramovich soon?
He could do, and as he continues to behave impeccably, his team keeps developing and progressing, almost under the radar, going to places like Newcastle and doing what they did to them, doing what they did at the Etihad certainly helps. It could be his time again to get a job in the top 2-3 clubs in England, and Chelsea's one. He's no stranger to there. I don't think Frank Lampard is near the exit, as some are suggesting. I know a young coach there, Joe Edwards, who's now progressed from the academy to the first team, who's absolutely excellent. So I'm confident, obviously, that work going on in the week is good. I think everybody listens to Frank Lampard and is impressed when he speaks. Like a public schoolboy upbringing and very eloquent and very fair. And I thought he was very fair at weekend too. So, there's going to be good messages through the club. I just don't think if he's going to get a stick to be beaten with on the recruitment, I think that's a whole load of people do that it would be unfair. The results, he's basically suggesting, I told you, he was basically saying that we aren't title contenders. He basically said that at weekend. He said people were saying it 6 weeks ago. I said we're not. He said, well, I'm basically telling you we're not, and we're going to have to go through some pain like other clubs have done. He was putting it on a line. The only thing that spooked me a little bit is that he always seems to go out of his way to say how well Mason Mount did, like he's vindicating his decision to pick him. He doesn't need to, just pick him or not, but he always seems to tries to educate the merits of Mason Mount. But I'm hopeful he can do well because, again, we want English legends, young English coaches. He's got English staff. We want them to be progressively developing to do well. And at this moment in time, he's in a position where he'll be learning more as he's losing. And that's where he's at the moment, but hopefully not through the exit door.
Yeah, well, we've seen Ledley King at Spurs, and I think he's made a difference from a defensive standpoint. I'd be interested to see if Eddie Newton will get an opportunity at Chelsea, because I know that he was in Turkey and he won the cup with Trabzonspor, and he's been out of work for the past couple of months now, and maybe it's worth getting him in because I know he was a very tenacious midfielder, and they could do with someone there with that bit of experience to get these midfielders really working hard. Because, as I said, Kante, I don't know what's happened to him, and Billy Gilmore, granted, he's still young, but he's got a lot of potential. So maybe Eddie Newton to come in and help them out a little bit because they seem to need it, especially from a defensive aspect.
Yeah, and I think you can't get away with talking about coaching responsibilities from a defensive point of view without mentioning John Terry, even though he's at Aston Villa, and they are very much hit, miss, or maybe, but they're getting better. But, obviously, I don't know if that would work. Those teammates, you think they were close friends, I presume so. England teammates too. But if you're talking about an additional...
It'd be like watching Lock Stock with Jordan Morris there as well.
But, an additional to the staff, then if you put all the boxes on a piece of paper and ticked them, I think John Terry would tick more than anybody else for that role.
Yeah, can you just imagine them singing Park Life during
training? Well, he'd want to be the manager, though, wouldn't he? You know what I mean? It possibly wouldn't work. But like I say, Chelsea's best defender, one of the best defenders of all time, Chelsea's best defender in the last 20 years, that's currently coaching 100 mile away in the Premier League. It's not a daft one.
True. Right, a couple more games to wrap it up. Let's talk quickly about West Ham beating Everton 1-0. Darren, I don't know if you watched the game, mate, but that wasn't an Ancelotti-type performance. So many gaping holes. West Ham scoring a fortuitous winner. But again, the opportunities that the Hammers had, I'm thinking, wow, this looks very disjointed to me. I don't know whether it was New Year's Day blues or hangover from the night before, but Everton just didn't look at the races.
Yeah, and that does happen to Everton. Just a bit like Wolves, Everton can be quite hit and miss this season. So, and West Ham have been playing well. They have been playing well. Again, my defending hat. I'm putting my defending hat on. You track Souček's run, because I could see him. I could see him on the TV. I know I was on the TV. I watched it on the TV. But I could see him bombing forward. I don't know who was it that took the shot outside the box.
Cresswell. Was it Cresswell?
Yes, it was. It was. It was Cresswell. Cresswell took that shot. When he took the shot, even though it deflected, I said, you know what? For some reason, I feel like they're gonna score. Right? The moment he took the shot, and lo and behold, in comes Souček. So if I'm thinking that you're a West Ham defender, you're an Everton defender, you're thinking, all right, I better have a look around here, track the runner, because the ball was loose for a minute, but you got to be going to that ball. But I don't know what to say. Really, with regards to that, I think West Ham, they've been playing well. That's a result. Sometimes you can expect that kind of result from Everton. So when they were talking of title talk for Everton, that's the reason they're not going to win the title. However, they are moving in the right direction in terms of the way they're playing, the way Ancelotti set them up. You've got Calvert-Lewin, who's supremely confident. They miss Alan. I do think they miss Alan quite a bit of steel in that midfield.
Yeah, Tom Davies isn't the same player, is he?
No, he's not. And that was, Mikel Antonio came on and caused havoc.
Yep.
He did, and he's just that go-to guy for any West Ham manager. He's just that go-to guy. And I think they were so busy watching Antonio, they missed the Souček run because they're so scared of Mikel Antonio. So that was actually quite a good substitution at the right time by David Moyes. So we've got to give him credit where that's concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Calvert-Lewin. He went off with 10 minutes to go. I think he was just having one of those games. He didn't get any joy from Ogbonna. Ogbonna was fantastic.
Yeah, he had a really good game. That night. He's had quite a good season, to be honest with you, which is was helped West Ham a lot.
We've had a few defensive partners as well. I know Craig Dawson came in at centre back, and usually they play with three at the back, don't they, West Ham sometimes? So, yeah, I think Ogbonna's a pretty decent player from. There you go. Steve, I don't know if you watched this, the Liverpool game. We'll end with that one, really. Didn't watch much of that one? Or
same as you, I saw the goal. And obviously we were going to start a bit earlier tonight, and so got myself ready for joining you tonight. But it just seems like Liverpool are stuck in the mud at the moment, and they will drive through it. There's no doubt about that. They're too good, and the manager's too good. So we know it's coming, but they must look at the shutouts that clubs have done against them recently. Not necessarily blanks, but look what West Brom did to them at Anfield, and then we've seen what's happened to them since. So Liverpool just must be kicking themselves because they've been cannon fodder for everybody else, but they get that freak 1-1 at Anfield. And then Newcastle goalkeeper has the game of his life, as we discussed. Plays out of his skin. They get that 0-0, and then Leicester go and dismantle them at St James's Park days later. So they've gone to Southampton tonight. You feared that Southampton could do something, but I think deep down you thought maybe, but no. But they've gone and done it. Ings has scored. They've got in front and stayed in front. And Liverpool appear to be stuck. They don't appear to be happy. And unfortunately, it's foreign to them, but very rare of the three strikers up front done nothing at the same time, but that appears to be happening at the moment. There's nearly always one of them who's firing, or two, and at most times all three. But at the moment, none of them are firing.
Well, this is it. I don't think Liverpool are going to fall off. I think it's just a bit of a bad patch. Every team goes through that, especially a team that's been dominating for the past year and a half. It's going to happen eventually, and I'm not going to turn around and say that they're going to fall by the wayside, whatever. But I think, just as we said after the West Brom game, just as we said after the Newcastle game, there must be a little bit of a concern with their lack of goals recently. And looking at the statistics tonight, and again, I watched bits and bobs of the game, and it was more like Liverpool knocking on the door, but not really knocking hard enough. And I was alarmed to see the stat: 1 shot on target.
Yes,
that's not like Liverpool.
Oh wow.
I would think a little bit under the radar is that the opposition have sussed out how to play against Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. They appear to have stopped Alexander-Arnold completely. They haven't stopped Robertson, but they've slowed him down. He's not as regular as he was. He was brilliant last week, I've got to say. And everyone was like championing Liverpool for being champions, and it was all being done from their wing-backs to get into the last third, and then you've got those three world-class players up there. It appears that a lot of the opposition are stopping Liverpool at source now and actually defending the wing-back areas better, not allowing Liverpool to progress, and it's starving the front three of their magic.
Yeah, and with Fabinho and Henderson at centre-backs, Yeah, there's obviously a problem. But then again, Alexander-Arnold played, Robertson played, Wijnaldum played, Thiago played. In fact, the front three played. So aside from the central defensive pairing, which is completely foreign to them, they had a pretty much full-strength team. So you're expecting more from Southampton. And then again, let's be more against Southampton, should I say. But at the same time, Southampton's number one was out with COVID. They had to play Fraser Forster, who's kind of come in from the cold.
Sure. Great for them, but it just Aston Villa, Southampton, Leicester City, although Leicester City are obviously Premier League winners, but those teams are a breath of fresh air in terms of you used to get 6 points a season against them, the big clubs, and your strikers would be looking to get loads of goals. They've narrowed the gap in the contest, and now as a City supporter and as Liverpool tonight, you're fearing Southampton, thinking they could do us here. Whereas you've not thought that for a few years. You're fearing Aston Villa if you're a United fan in midweek and thinking these are going to give us the right game here, and they did. So it's just it's fantastic for the Premier League that almost anybody can beat anybody. It seems Sheffield United can't beat anybody. West Brom doesn't look like it's true, isn't it? It's true. 2 points tells you they've not won a game, so they can't beat anybody. West Brom don't look like they can beat anybody. Brighton give you a big open game. Fulham are improving, and then above that, it's not exactly a level game in terms of budget and talent, but anyone can beat anybody. It's been proven.
That's right.
That's right.
Darren, I mean, you might go on the DD Footy Factory at the weekend. I'm not sure. But I don't think we could be too critical of Liverpool, can we? Let's be 100% honest. They've been top of the league all season. Again, injuries, COVID, whatever, have really thrown a spanner in the works. And I'm pretty certain they'll be back to their best in a couple of weeks, probably against United.
That's going to be an interesting game. And bear in mind, if you do win your game in hand, you go top,
I'm not thinking that far ahead at all. In fact, I'm not even thinking it at all.
Yeah, I thought I'd let that on because I'm just looking at the league table and I'm like, okay. But you know what? Liverpool will bounce back. Klopp I believe Klopp is the best coach in the world. They all adhere to his system. They love playing under him. It happens. Do you know what I mean? It's a difficult time for them with all the injuries. But they've done well under the circumstances. So, Southampton and Hasenhuttl, you got to give them credit. I thought it was a great goal.
He was on his knees.
Yeah, he was. I saw that. I was just looking up and I was like, okay. But you know what?
I have beaten COVID. I have the vaccine.
He had the vaccine for him. And you know what? Well played. But yes, like you said, everybody's going through a bad patch. Everybody goes through a bad patch. This is Liverpool's at the moment, but they will bounce back. They're still a very, very, very good team. So you cannot, count them out at all. So yeah, I don't really know what to say. It's just more of credit to Southampton. I do think teams are still, as Steve alluded to, teams are setting up and nullifying the threats from the back. They are the Alexander-Arnolds and the Robertsons of this world. They are nullifying their threats, but they're gonna get a Palace where they're gonna give them a 7-0 pasting. There's more teams that are gonna get a pasting from Liverpool. Hopefully not Spurs. But
it's gonna happen against Man United. You watch Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire. They're all gonna get found out.
I see a draw. To be honest with you, I do see a draw. I think you're just gonna cancel each other out. That's what I reckon.
Wow. Let's see. I'm not going to make any predictions because I'm shit. So there you go. Right, gentlemen, it's been great having you guys on. Thank you very much for jumping on at short notice, especially you, Darren. And that
was my fault. Thank you.
That's my bad. Well, look, before I let you guys go, anything you want to promote, Darren? Twitter or anything like that?
You can follow me at Mr. Darren_T on Twitter. I'm also your friendly neighborhood football intermediary as of November.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And that is really it. Just holler at me.
Thank you very much. Steve, any media appearances we need to know about?
Done a little bit today because I was the Fleetwood coach with Joey Barton for over 2 years, and he's been sacked at Fleetwood today. So done a couple of them this afternoon in support of the club and in support of him. In this moment, I don't think he'll be suffering. He gets over things quite quickly, and he'll be on to his next challenge in no time, and I'm sure he'll be a success. And Fleetwood's a great club with a great chairman, so they'll be the same. So other than that, no, I'm just not sure what football match I'll get to next with the current restrictions, but to encourage everybody to follow rules and guidelines and stay safe and have a good week.
Hey, listen, if Joey Barton wants to move abroad, there might be a team in Cyprus looking for a new manager in the next few weeks. You know, the way that a certain team in yellow in Nicosia are performing under Mick McCarthy, you never know. They signed Joe Garner, they signed Jack Byrne. Hey, they might want Joey Barton as their head coach.
Maybe. Well, he could still play. He could still play.
He can still play, yeah. Well, mind you, out there, it's a completely different kettle of fish. But anyway, we won't go into that because my team won it yesterday and we're nearly at the top of the table. Yeah, whatever. Right, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, have a good one, be safe, and whatever you do, don't let this lockdown get to you. Honestly, it's going to affect a lot of people's mental health. So listen to podcasts, keep yourselves entertained, you know, make use of the technology that we have. I know Zoom and FaceTime and all that isn't ideal to see relatives, but listen, this isn't the 1940s and 1950s. We're lucky to have that opportunity to have technology and see people and talk to people from around the world. So think positive. Think of all the positives. Hey, you might even be able to do Joe Wicks all over again. And have my daughter shout at me 7 o'clock in the morning, turn the telly on. No, thank you. Till next time, take care.
Cheers, Stel.